everyone, Philippa here, out in the sunshine today. The title of my live this afternoon is Irlen. Man, that's a boring way to put that. I just wanted to share, this is quite different from most of my other videos, but I just wanted to share really quickly because we recently discovered Irlen Syndrome on, sort of a more personal level. I had heard of it in the past, but we now realize that it's a feature of our lives. And, spreading the word about it might be helpful to some people. So here goes. What is Irlen Syndrome, for starters? Well, if you've ever met an Irlen sufferer, you might have noticed that they probably wear oddly tinted glasses. Or if you didn't notice that, maybe they use a coloured overlay, or maybe they use tinted contact lenses. Hey, Maddie. So Irlen it's a visual thing, right? But it's not the same as other sorts of visual difficulties that we're all really familiar with, like short-sightedness and long-sightedness and those sorts of things. Those sorts of vision problems are to do with the structure of the eye, whereas Irlen is, although it's a vision issue, it's actually more about the visual signals and the processing of those signals. So it doesn't have anything to do with the structure of the eye at all, but it can have a huge impact. So obviously it's the sort of thing that can exhibit itself on a bit of a spectrum. So some people have quite mild Irlen and some people can have really severe Irlen. And symptoms are many and varied, and if you don't know what to look for and you have no idea that it could be in your family, then it can probably go for a long time undiagnosed. But we're very pleased to have come across the information about this ourselves. One of our kids was having some difficulty in school. He was feeling very tired all the time, or certainly very early in the day. And we're fairly diligent parents. We feed him well and we try to make sure that all the children get plenty of rest. So the source of that wasn't really obvious. But the symptom that really leapt out actually to a friend of mine was that he was rubbing his eyes. And she only had observed him do this once because we don't actually spend a whole lot of time hanging out together. And it was in a public situation that she noticed, he's rubbing his eyes a lot. That's interesting. I wonder if Irlen could be a problem. I'm really grateful to this particular friend because, yes, Irlen was our problem, and still is actually, because we're still waiting for his glasses to arrive. We're very excited, but they'll take a few weeks because the tinting of the lenses is quite specialised, and they're having to do that on top of a more normal sort of lens, although that's an occupational lens as well. So anyway, the process of manufacturing them takes a little bit longer than for your average pair of spectacles. So symptoms can be things like rubbing your eyes a lot, or your eyes feeling tired or red and watery, especially when you're reading or under very bright light or fluorescent light. Some people get awful headaches. So I have a friend that I just recently discovered has Irlen Syndrome, and she used to get terrible headaches, and that was kind of the big sign, I think, for her. And often when reading, people with Irlen Syndrome will experience things that the rest of us don't, but because they don't have, if you like, the normal frame of reference, they may not have worked out that they're experiencing something unusual. I'm just going to turn for a second here and check on the kids. They're okay. What was I saying? That's right. So they can experience funny things when they're reading, right? Because all the visual information that they're taking on board isn't necessarily translating to the right sort of information when it hits the brain. So some of them will find that words on the page sort of wriggle or shift, or words may seem to float, or they may sort of blur in and out. Or some people find that black text on a white page, they might find that they get sort of the white spaces in between words may sort of run together like rivers, or or some people will find that the page sort of looks like it's flashing at them, or weird visual distortions, right? But the funny thing is that a lot of them have no idea that this is unusual, because if they've never had normal visual processing before, then they don't have a reference point, right? So our little lad wasn't able to tell us that there was anything really wrong at all, and we had to go off just what we could observe. And he's actually quite a good reader, so it wasn't obvious that he was struggling to read until we were supplied with, we did our basic Irlen screening, the initial appointment, and we were given a coloured overlay. His was turquoise, and I discovered that he could read from a totally different posture. He used to do this funny thing where we'd pull out his homework for the day, and I'd put his reader on the table in front of him and say, right, yeah, this is the story that we have to read for school today. And he would kneel on his chair, so he'd like sitting on his legs, and then he would plant his forearms on the table. I don't know if I can show you this. Sort of like that, but both of them. And he'd sort of kneel up, and so his whole head was right over the top of the page. So he'd be leaning on his arms right over the book, and that was how he read. And I suppose I never really gave it a moment's thought, because I would just have thought that that was the position that was comfortable to him. And it wasn't until we took the overlay home, we had one for home and one for school, and the first day that I brought the overlay out and I put that over his school reader, I noticed that instead of trying to get right, sorry about the noise, we're actually parked on quite a busy street. The children are in a nicely gated playground, but the road here is pretty busy, sorry about that. So instead of trying to get himself right over the page, as I was accustomed to seeing him do, he read it very comfortably from arm's length. He didn't actually, like, I had put it out sort of on the floor in front of him. We were just comfortable on the floor. I don't know, we've been doing something there a moment ago, probably just having a chat. And instead of maneuvering himself to get closer to it and get over it even, he didn't move at all. He just read it from what must have been at least arm's distance away, and at an angle that he wouldn't normally have been reading from, with great ease. It's another truck. And I thought, aha, because until that happened, I really wasn't sure. Uh-oh. Okay, are we being careful, please? Sorry, guys, one second.
Straight in front of my swing.
Oh,
right in the spot where I was swinging.
Okay, guys, I'm live, so let's come here and have a hug.
She's got.
Or Alexander, I'm on live video. Thank you. Thank you for delivering her back to me, but I don't need the whole story right now. Anyway, so I better try and finish this up quickly, but I just wanted to give you perhaps some of the information from one of the brochures about Irlen Syndrome. Now, it's really hard to see because all the light's behind me. Actually, one of the other names for Irlen Syndrome is scotopic sensitivity, if you ever want to look it up. Some of the physical symptoms can include headaches, I mentioned that earlier, migraines, nausea, dizziness, sleepiness, anxiety and fatigue. Oh, sweetheart. And now I can't see this up because of that light. And it's not always something that you're born with, although I'm told that it tends to run in families. So possibly some of the rest of us should get tested. But the other factor is that sometimes it can be brought on by head injury and that sort of thing. So I guess my message today is, if you or someone you love has difficulty reading, so perhaps hasn't advanced in reading at school as well as would have been expected, or suffers from headaches when reading, or really struggles under fluorescent lights, struggles a lot with maybe eye strain and that sort of thing, it really doesn't hurt to check Irlen out as a possibility. And you can just go online to irlen.com, or just Google the Irlen Institute, and there are self-tests online, just questionnaires that will give you an idea of whether it's worth getting tested. Oh, I'm being joined by another little person. So I think this is my cue to go, but I hope that information is helpful to someone, and I'm really sorry about the interruptions today. Thanks so much for watching. Bye for now.